We got a bunch of comments on our original Who Could Beat the Mountain video suggesting fighters to throw against the monster. Some we agree with, others, we see the merit, but unfortunately don't think could actually chop the mountain down. Here were the most popular picks of fighters who you thought could beat the mountain, but couldn't, and why. Same rules as fighters that can, this is a trial by combat scenario. Number 5, Brienne of Tarth. Look, I love Brienne, and I'm even slightly in favor of her show counterpart possibly being able to put the mountain down. But the fact of the matter is, while she most certainly has skill and speed that trumps the mountain, she kind of leverages the same advantages as him. That being heavy armor and savagely closing the gap where she can leverage her strength, and the mountain just outclasses her in this regard. Now, a lot of people will point to the show-only feat of her defeating the Hound in single combat, and since the Hound can beat Gregor, surely that means Brienne can too. But here's the thing, A beats B doesn't automatically mean that A beats C, and I don't want to take the wind out of that victory, but the Hound was starving, tired and exhausted from sleeping rough, wounded and quite possibly on the verge of sepsis thanks to his noble quest for chicken. Needless to say, she didn't beat the Hound at 100%. It's not totally crazy to put a gold dragon on her, but we just don't think Brienne's got it.
Well, Clegane, it's time to drown our sorrows.
Number 4, Jon Snow. Now, Jon in the show is a bit of a living legend to the people of the North, but here's the thing with legends, they are often exaggerated. Jon as we see him is definitely a talented and well-trained fighter, but from best we can tell, he is just good and nothing more. The 2 times he fought a worthy opponent, no, Ramsay wasn't worthy, he was stage managed, or as was the case with Khal fucking Tanner, he lost and required bailing out. Book Jon is still just a 16-year-old boy, not even fully developed. Needless to say,
you know nothing, Jon Snow.
When it comes to dealing with the mountain and would be flattened. Number 3, Jaqen H'ghar. Could Jaqen kill Gregor? Sure. Could he kill Gregor in a fair 1v1? No, not really. Much like Arya, Jaqen is a master-trained assassin. The whole point of an assassin is to kill your opponent when they are unaware and at a disadvantage. It's an equally impressive, but totally different skill set to that of a warrior. He's got some insane reflexes, and I'm more than confident a man can handle themselves in a fight when necessary. But that's not enough when you want to topple the mountain. At number 2, it's Arya Stark. Right, let's clear one thing up first. Arya is my personal favorite character of the whole series. If I could fiddle it so she could win, I bloody well would. Now, Arya is a badass, no question, and a prestigious fighter, but in a fair 1v1, she doesn't have a single significant advantage over Gregor, and is heavily disadvantaged in every regard except skill and speed. We look at that Brienne fight and think Arya is unbeatable, but there's a few things to note. Number 1, they were having a friendly spar, not a fight to the death. And number 2, even if it were a fight to the death, Arya has a valid target to strike at with Needle in Brienne's exposed head. The mountain in both mediums wears armor head to toe, and here is the problem. Even if she closes the considerable gap in reach, which if you've ever done HEMA you'll know is much harder than it looks, her weapon is not designed to go through plate, and she can't afford to go for any gap but the eye slit as she needs an immediate kill shot, otherwise she's grabbed and crushed. The odds of landing such a strike without an equally lethal retaliation are not good.
Never tell me the odds.
At the end of the day, Arya's skill set is that of an assassin, not a warrior. And at number 1, our final and most popular suggestion is Khal Drogo. And because it was so popular, we're going to go a little bit more in depth than normal. Now, is Drogo more skilled than Gregor? Yes. Could Drogo dance circles around Gregor? Sure. Drogo is by far a better warrior than Gregor can ever hope to be. But this is a matter of toolkits and not outright skill or power. Dothraki have shown they are not all too accustomed to dealing with plate armor, and while Drogo is a cut above other Dothraki, Gregor's plate is a cut above other plate. Add to this Drogo's weapons, the Arak, his daggers, and his bow. The Arak has sod all reach, which is a major problem in itself, and it has even less anti-armor utility than Arya's Needle, lacking the capacity to thrust. The daggers are only good if the Khal can get close enough to get them in the mountain's eye slit without being bisected, and while I don't doubt Drogo can place an arrow in the plate helmet's eye slit, he isn't afforded the distance and time required to line up that kind of shot in a fair 1v1, and the Dothraki don't use armor-piercing longbows, so eye slit is his only shot, or maybe the neck.
But Drogo would just do what Bronn and Oberyn suggested and dance around him and get him tired and put him on his back.
Look guys, the mountain is not a cat who chases shiny objects. He chased Oberyn around because 1, the Viper was taunting him and winding winding him up, something I'm sure Bronn was also planning to do if he had to take the fight, and 2, Oberyn had a long-range weapon that could hurt him if not careful. To put it simply, it was in the Mountain's best interest to pursue. Drogo can't wind Gregor up because he can't speak Westerosi, and his weapon choices give the Mountain no incentive to close the distance. The reverse can actually happen to Drogo. Gregor can wait for Drogo to tire himself out trying to close the gap and get in and out and pierce his armor while prioritizing defense of his head, and dispatch Drogo when he starts slowing down. Remember, the Mountain wields a greatsword with a lot of reach, and requiring a lot of energy to move in and out of range from. We don't think it's impossible for the Khal to win, but everything favors the Mountain a whole lot more. People sleep on the Mountain. We see him as this big, slow, dumb brute trope that anyone with a bit of skill can take down. But here's the thing, he's kind of a subversion of that trope and a little bit of a realistic depiction of it. He's a fully trained knight with skills to match. He's not dumb, in combat at least. He's got good warrior instincts according to several sources, and he's not slow. He's quicker than a man his size ought to be. Let's remember that the guy who beat him was a well-trained prodigy in the qualities of fighting intelligence and cunning, and even he kept his distance, played it safe, and had long planned his tactic before ever stepping into the arena. Do you agree with these picks? Let us know down below, and thanks for watching, guys.